Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So last time out we set up nginx, and then we did a few basic commands on FreeBSD and Linux-like, Unix-like systems. Today we're going to stick with FreeBSD and we're going to set up a Poudriere package building system. This is a system that is specific to FreeBSD. It won't work with anything else. So let's dive straight into that one, shall we? So if we go to our terminal, we will assume that we're already logged in. If we go to our terminal window, we will assume that we're already logged in. What you will see is that we have our terminal and we are located in the root directory because we're logged in as root. We need to be logged in as root for this. Well, actually that's not strictly true, but the way I like to do it, we need to be logged in as root. So the first thing we'll do is we'll actually install the package system, which is Poudriere, however you want to call it. So we'll just get that installed. We're going to install Portmaster as well, just because we can. It may come in handy later. Okay, so let's refresh and clear that. Because we're going to be doing this over TLS and SSL, we're going to make some certificates with this as well. So let's make the directories for that. And we'll change the permissions and generate it. And we'll also create the correct format. There we go. So let's jump into the configuration file. So here it is. So what we need to do is just change a couple of things. So we're going to use ZFS. So let's change that to home. That's the default. So let's change the Z pool. It's already set to the correct Z pool there, which is Z root. That's the default. We'll want the ZFS, root ZFS there. Let's jump down to the FreeBSD host. We'll change that. Let's set that. This is where it will get everything from. Okay, that's that set. That's fine, that's fine. What do we need next? Poudriere database, base FS. So the data, the base FS is correct. Check changed options, let's change that. Change that to verbose and check changed depends. Let's change the signing key. Because we've created that in one of the steps above. And then the base URL. Helps if we put that in correctly. So we're going to change that to our IP address. Get rid of all this crap. So that's correct. So now we need to create the actual jail and set that running. So at time of recording, let's see what right. Just correcting my scripts. To make sure everything is correct. Hang on. Right, okay. So, next what we will want to do is actually create the jail that Poudriere runs in. So what it does is it creates itself a jail, which is pretty much like a virtual machine, if you like, but it's more like a container for Linux, which is really quite good how it compartmentalizes itself like that. Anyway, so let's get back to it. So what we'll do is we'll issue that. Interesting. Hang on, which one? Jail name. All right, so we'll just call it 13. So as you can see, that is now getting that from the FTP site. That's extracting it. This can take some time, so I'll fast forward. La da 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 da. Right, okay, so that's finished. No errors recorded. It's 13.0 release P6. That's good. So if we have a quick look, we can see there's the jail. It's created. It actually downloaded it over HTTP, which is interesting, but we'll move along. So let's now create the ports repository, which will be based on the version head. FreeBSD transitioned away from Subversion, Apache's Subversion, over to Git. I'd actually completely forgotten that it needs Git to do this. So I just quickly installed that from packages as well. So let's go back to it. So there we go, Git is installed. Let's try our ports creation again. This can take a little while the first time it's done. So I'll fast forward to the next part. Typically it finishes just as I say that. Okay, so if we then do a Poudriere ports list, you can see there's the head, and it's Git plus HTTPS. So next, what we'll need to do is create a list of the ports that we want to build. So for this, a simple one, we'll just do let's create the list. So we'll just call it port list, and we'll go www nginx. There we go. So that's a nice simple list. So what we'll now do is just copy the options so that we don't have to manually worry about this every time. Okay, because we haven't actually built any ports on this system, it can't actually do anything about that. So if we was to do a quick ports build, with the basic options, the default ones, there we go, we don't actually need to build that. So if I was there we go. So what we'll now see in there will be a folder or directory, and it'll have an options file. And there's all the options that were set. Okay. So we are now ready to actually test this. That's the way we can actually overwrite it. We don't want to do that. That's quite interesting. Okay, so next what we can do is we can actually build our ports. So to do this, we would need to issue a bulk command, which will actually build all the ports and any dependencies. So if it was installing nginx, it'll automatically build package, Perl, and a few others, which is really good because it just takes care of all of the options for you. Okay, we'll leave that to do that because this will take some time. So while we're waiting for those packages to get built, we'll just configure nginx. So if we move over to the directory for nginx, if you remember last time we created a domains directory for our virtual server, there it is. So we go into that, and there we will see all of the server stuff. Okay, so we're going to change a few bits here. So we're going to add, we're going to change our, so what you could do is you could change this so that it was its own virtual host, for instance, package.domainname.com or whatever you've got. But for this, I'm just going to leave it on its local IP address. So the root directory we need to change, which would be there. And then down the bottom, let's add a few bits. So we're going to add a directory or two. And restart nginx. We will also, while we're at it, just change one of the MIME types. Which would be and we want to add in the log file. We'll restart nginx again. There we go, that's nice and done. So if we now move to that IP address, well now, that's rather interesting, is it not? Of course, it does help if I actually put in the right IP address. So there we go, there's our Poudriere build. And we can also see the status of it. So it's finished building package, it's now building PCRE, and then after it's done that, it will build nginx. And we can look through the log files because we set that up with the MIME type. There we go. Nicely done. So that's rather helpful, that one. So what we'll do now, While we're waiting for Poudriere to finish building those packages, what we'll do is we'll set up the host that this is running on so that it can actually install from that repo itself. So we'll go back to our command line and we will just clear this screen. So we'll need to make a directory with that in there and we'll create the file. You can call this whatever you like. You don't have to call it Poudriere. You can call it your package repo, whatever you like. Here's the configuration. So we'll just save that. And we'll also tell it not to use the default FreeBSD repo. And to do that, we just add 1 or 2 bits in there, 1 or 2 lines. And there we go. So that's all of our command work done. We can get out of there now. And if we go back to check, here we go. All the builds have finished. So you can see there that all 3 packages we can now try to install from that. So if we was to go back to our command, here we go, it's picking up that it's a brand new version and it's done. Excellent. That is exactly how it is supposed to work. So let's restart nginx. Because it's now on a newer version. There we go. Success. So what you will now see is that you have a fully functioning build system and you can add and remove packages as you see fit in the ports or port list file that we created earlier. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, click the like button and come back for more content in the next video. Thanks very much. See you later. Bye.